guys, here we are again, another day and another camp. So we're going to be walking around this one. This is going to be an X28 camp. So 2 feet smaller than what you're used to seeing, the last couple anyways. Seems like we build a lot of the X30s, X31s. This one's a little more compact, but you sure wouldn't notice going inside. So like I say, X28, so this would be a 102-inch exterior, 28 feet from the tongue to the bumper, and then this one's gonna weigh right around 9.6, 9.7, somewhere in there. I haven't weighed it yet, so I don't know for sure, but that's gonna be a pretty good ballpark figure of where we're gonna be. So we're gonna go through this one. Dave has asked that in this video I'd talk about some of the options and stuff that way. He must be getting a lot of questions about what comes standard, everything that way. So I'm going to kind of go through that. One thing that we do here is we usually start from the top, give you a fully loaded camp pretty much, and then you can, you know, take away from that or anything that way. But there's not a whole lot of upgrades. I mean, more than anything, it's configuration, how you want it laid out. So for example, like this one's got the awning. You can see that it's got an air conditioner on it, a fantastic fan, a heated tank enclosure. I can't remember. I'll go through some of it when I got the spec sheet in front of me when we go on the inside. But yeah, I mean, pretty much everything else is pretty much standard on it. So window placement, all that stuff, we just figure all that into the build to show you what's going to work the best, be the most functional. As you can see on this one's got a side door here. Well, you'll see why on the interior, because of the way that the interior lays out. We've got some space that we need to utilize, and so that's what we'll do there. So diamond plate on the front, that's standard. All, like I say, everything on this one's pretty well standard, aside from on the exterior anyways, aside from the heated tank enclosures, the awning, and the air conditioner. So we'll kind of walk around. This one does have the 7,200 pound axles. These are a 16-inch wheel, 8 lug. You've got your exhaust fan, pull-out awning, lots of windows on this side. And then, yeah, this is a little different. You've got a side compartment box here. It's not super deep. These do have our locking latches on there, so you can see how this pulls in, and then they push in, and then they are keyed. So we've got some storage in there. Sorry, the lighting's kind of terrible. We're getting to where the sun's starting to go down and getting a lot of shadows. So 6-gallon water heater. This one is just strictly propane, which is standard, what we normally do. You can get these with electric heating elements in them also. If you're planning on using it as a guest house, you're plugged in, your campgrounds or whatever, not a bad option, and really not going to be a lot more money to do that. So, and then you've got some big doors on this side. You've seen some of our camps, well, at least some of you that have watched the channel for a while have seen some of our camps that have these big doors. This has to do with the configuration of the interior. So we want to give you as much usable space as we can. So if we can do it on the exterior, interior, whatever's going to work best for you. So these are latching. This one doesn't have the camp chef or any cooking stuff in it, but it is plumbed to where if they did want to add any of that stuff, they can. You've got your spare tires, stabilizer jacks, all 4 corners. These spare tires, you can see that crank down there. It's the same size as what your stabilizer jacks are. So if you're using an impact style drill, anything that way to where you can lower them jacks down quick, you can also do the same with your spare tires. So on the back, we have our 2 100-watt solar panels. That's standard. That comes on every camp. And then this one, you can see it's got 2 fills. They opted to do, which would be another thing that they've added, was just more fresh water storage. So we've got 2 freshwater tanks. These are 42-gallon freshwater tanks. They're on their own valve system to where you can utilize one or the other, or both. It doesn't really matter, but you can kind of use that how you need to. 2-inch receiver on the back. This is wired with the 7-pin plug. So it's all set up for trailer brakes, everything, your safety chains. You got your license plate light, all DOT lights, compliant both in the States as well as in Canada. So you've got markers on all your corners, your top, and then your bottom. This is an egress window, so you can pop it out. And then on this side, we've got the smaller boxes. And like I say, this will have to do with the configuration of the interior. So you'll have your battery storage in this side here. This one has the 4 6-volt AGMs. These are 220 amp hour batteries, 6-volt batteries. So they're sealed AGMs. You've got your solar setup, little fuse block back there, but everything usually, so standard in this size camp is going to be 4 6-volt batteries. If you opt to do the heating tank elements on your fresh or on your black and gray water tanks, then I'm going to upgrade you to 6-volt batteries. I also do that if you decide to add an inverter. That'll be part of that package. So a couple of those things, but standard's gonna be 4 6-volt batteries, and you will run everything in this camp for as long as you want, without much trouble. So this front one's just another storage, nothing in there, just open storage. So this one has a lot of exterior storage, which is kind of handy when you're doing camp chairs, all of that other stuff. Your city water connection. So if you do go to a campground or stationary at your house, piece of property, want to hook in there, don't have to fill your tanks, any of that business, that's set up to do so. Wood box, as well as this fresh air intake for your wood burning stove. This is where it draws all your combustible air, all your fresh air, so you're not burning up all that air inside the trailer. Your wood box feeds all the way through. There's a door on the inside to where you can open it up. Now, a lot of times this is nice for putting your wood, kindling everything in while you're outside, if you're splitting wood, whatever. But I really like this when I'm cleaning the wood stove. If I keep my ash bucket in there, metal bucket or whatever, I can take and clean that stove out, fill that bucket up, and then put it in there. And then the next time I'm outside or whatever, I can open that side door, grab it, dump it out. Now, I tell you that because I've learned from sad experience that as tight as these camps are sealed up, if I try and take the ash out through the front door and that front door is closed, as soon as I open that front door, I'm going to get a gust of air that comes in, and I'm going to be wearing that ash. So that's kind of how I do it. Those camp owners out there, you've probably learned that for yourselves. But yeah, tips and tricks, I guess. This is your shore power cord. This is a 30 amp service. It's got a 25-foot cord, so you can stretch it out to an outlet. Like I say, whether you're at a campground or anything that way. This one is your coax setup to where if you do go to a campground or anything that way or want an antenna, this one does have a WineGuard 360, which was another upgrade, which if you are doing TV and things like that, I would highly recommend it. You can do it with the Wi-Fi router attachment. You can do a lot of things with it, and it's relatively cheap. Great antenna. I pick up tons of stations with it, and like I say, it's affordable, and it does a great job. So you got your drain valves here. So they did do the tank cover. So this is an insulated cover, so your holding tanks sit in there. It's all boxed in, insulated, and then there is heat plumbed from the forced air furnace, which is here. This is a 30,000 BTU furnace, so more than adequate for this camp. But what it'll do is when you turn that furnace on, it's going to circulate heat down into those tanks. And then in the cold months, when say you want to use your wood burning stove, you're probably not going to be using your furnace just because your thermostat's going to be satisfied. There's a circulation fan also inside the camp that will pull hot air from that wood burning stove and circulate it down into them tanks to where you don't have any issues with that. So your fridge vents. And then we're back up here to the front. This does have the storage on the front, which this is standard on all of them also. So you've got your latch there, and then you can pull these grates out, store whatever you want to store in there. As you can see, I've got the stabilizer handles in there, but tire shocks, whatever, anything that you're not worried about getting wet or anything that way. So 2 5/16 coupler, adjustable to where we can fine tune it to your truck to where we can really get these things pulling good. So 7-gallon tanks on the front, 2, which is standard also. And yeah, that's a look at it. So Dutch door on the front, that's standard. If you do want a solid door, we do those also, and it's not a big deal to do that. So whatever you're thinking there. So let's go inside and we'll see what we've got going on in there. All right, let's climb up in this thing. So as I mentioned on the exterior, this one is an X28, so a 22-foot box, so 2 feet smaller than most of the recent videos that we've done. This one is a Montana walnut on our cabinetry, and then it's a Calcutta Lincoln countertop, and then the wall is Asian sand, and then the flooring is a heritage buckskin. And we'll go back up to the front, kind of show you around this camp. So one thing that I'm going to try and do, and I mentioned this on the exterior, is I guess Dave's had a little issue with customers not knowing what comes standard, what is standard, everything that way. So I'm going to kind of go through everything, let you know what is standard in each of these camps, and then what options they've added. So most everything that you're going to see is standard. So just to give you an example, like the gas light in this one was an option. The air conditioner is an option. This one does have the fantastic fan. That's an option as well. The boxed and insulated tanks with the heat pads, that's an option. The blind boxes are an option. And then this one does have a Winegard 360 antenna. That was an option. And then he has an awning, and he did the dual freshwater tanks. So those are really the only other options that he had in this one. So everything else is standard, and it's all gonna, as you work through everything with Dave will let you know kind of what the process is, how he specs them out, how he prices them, everything. But he basically does a square footage price plus appliances, and then whatever additions you have as far as options. But everything else, monitoring system, furnaces, all that stuff's all standard. So anyways, let's walk through this one. As I mentioned in all of our camps, this is an alder wood, okay? And it is finished in a Montana walnut. So we're staining it to match. Turn this light on. Got a big hanging closet here. Lots of space to store stuff on the bottom. All soft close hinges. This hardware was specifically picked out for this camp. So this is just, and it's not necessarily going to add any expense depending on the hardware, because we're putting hardware on it anyways. So if you have a preference on pulls and knobs and everything that way, not an issue. You have your two big drawers with the locking latches. These are dovetail drawers, heavy duty. They do have the catching slides, so when they slide in, they latch, they pull themselves in, and then they do have those locking latches on them just to keep them from sliding out. As big as these drawers are, you can put a lot of gear in them, and yeah, it gets a lot of weight when you're moving down the road. So this one has the elevated fridge, meaning that they opted to do the furnace underneath the fridge to kind of get that up off the floor. I don't know if I've mentioned this in previous videos that I do like having the fridge up. I don't like bending down to get stuff out of the bottom of the fridge. But the downside to it is I can't do the built-in microwave above. I have to do a smaller microwave. So as you can see, this is the smaller microwave. It does have the door that covers it. So I have to do that just because of size, which might not be an issue to you. If you're looking for the look of the built-in one, what we got to do is we either got to find a different location for it, or that fridge has got to go lower. So just something to think about when you're planning your camp, how you want it. Like I say, I don't think that that's a big deal to have the microwave up above the way that this one is. I think it's a clean look, but like I say, that's completely up to you. So this one does have the pull-out pantries, which have become pretty standard in all of our camps. A lot of our customers seem to like them. So you'll see some with just the upper and lower. We've got a couple coming up that they'll be getting double pantries to where they'll actually have 4 of them. So same thing, they've got the locking latches on them to keep everything nice and tidy. Got a little storage up above here. That's where you keep all of the good treats, I guess. Keep them out of reach of the kids. Propane gas light. I like this little thing. And it's, I would say, I don't know, 75% of the camps that we build, they get this. I just like having options. So we've got multiple options for heat. We've got multiple options for lighting. It just, like I say, options aren't a bad thing. So yeah, for some reason my batteries are completely dead, I'm not plugged in or anything, I can still light this camp up, and this little thing will put off a lot of light to where just the one will do that. It'll also take the chill off in them early spring, early fall type conditions where it's cold, but it's not quite cold enough that I want to run the wood stove. So yeah, it gives you kind of some options there. So not an expensive option at all, but it is pretty usable in my opinion. This is for the Winegard 360 antenna. So this serves as an antenna for the TV as well as an antenna for the stereo. So you're able to pick up a lot of stations with it. It's relatively cheap. I like it. So we get asked a lot of times about the Starlink and stuff, and we do a lot of Starlinks. But as far as usability, this one, it's a lot more user friendly than say the Starlink and stuff that way. It is Wi-Fi compatible to where it's just a matter of plugging the router in and it's good to go. So kind of a cool little setup. It just mounts on the top of the camp. You push the button, it powers up, and yeah, you can pull a lot of stations. So your monitoring system is just going to run through all the tanks. Like I showed you on the exterior, this one's going to have 2 freshwater tanks. So it'll give you a reading for both of those. They are on their own separate valves to where you can select one or the other. And it'll run through everything. So yeah, if you weren't planning on using one, didn't want to pack that much water, you can shut the other one off, not a big deal. So you can set alarms. So as you heard, those alarms go off for those fresh water. That's because they're below 25%, which is what we set our alarms at. That way you know when your water supply is getting low. And then we also have alarms set on the black and the gray tanks that will go off at 75%, letting you know that it's probably time to think about dumping. So We got your water heater switch. Now we can do these in electric or gas. This one does have just strictly gas, which the majority of our camps, that's what they have. But you can do them with the electric option, which I guess if you're using it as an Airbnb or it's stationary, you're plugged in all the time. Like I say, options aren't a bad thing. So this is our circulation fan for our wood stove. So what that does is when you're using the wood stove, your thermostat is going to be satisfied. It's going to be warm in here, but you still want to circulate that heat. If you do have the tank enclosure insulated stuff, you're going to want to be able to circulate that heat down into those holding tanks. And so that circulation fan allows it to pull hot air from the wood stove, circulate it throughout the camp and also into that tank compartment. So that's what that one is. This one is for the Wi-Fi. So this one's not set up with Wi-Fi, but as we build these camps, it's so much easier for me to just include everything in it. That way, if down the road you decide you want to add that, it's already there, it's wired. It's just a matter of hooking it up. So that'll just power up the Wi-Fi if they decide to add that down the road. This is our thermostat for our furnace. It's a 30,000 BTU furnace, so more than adequate for this camp. What they recommend, at least in the RV industry, is 1,000 BTUs for every foot of trailer. Now that's with them putting these furnaces in cardboard boxes and expecting them to keep it warm, where these are well insulated. A 30,000 BTU furnace in a 22-foot length camp is going to do good work. So AC outlets throughout the camp. We've got overhead storage. These are on gas struts. Keep them up when you're getting stuff in and out. All stainless steel backsplash and surround. Stainless steel 3-burner range with the oven. And then this has the pull-out cutting board. And this has become kind of popular too. We're doing a lot of these cutting boards. And then you've got your dovetail drawers. So you got a row of 3 there. Your converter, fuse panel, outlets, some heat registers. We've got the wood stove burning. And I wish in a video you could feel the warmth of this thing. This is a game changer, and I know I say that in every video, but it truly is what makes a camp a camp. This wood burning stove is the best feature about these things. I mean, you've got good insulation and everything to where you burn this thing and it stays warm in here for a long time. So little horseshoe setup. This does have the wood box that feeds all the way through. You can see that outside door. You probably saw that as we went over the exterior as well. This one's got the bench with the cushions, and then I don't know if you can see this, it's actually got a little trundle on this side that rolls out on that bench. So trying to utilize all the storage that we can. It's just a matter of removing these cushions, and then this has got a latch on that wall and it'll slide out. There's a drawer. I could demonstrate that, but this video is getting a little longer, so I'm gonna hold off on that. The blind boxes, I like these pull down shades, super nice. That is an option, like I mentioned. This does have the soup box, meaning that this lifts up, storage under there, and then you do have the storage in your compartments below as well. The pull-out table with a row of drawers, and then this has a big storage compartment underneath. And as you can see, all the water lines, everything's all in accessible space to where if you ever had any issues, everything's easy to get to. So pull-out table will pull out over the recliners as well as the bench to where you can use both ways. I do like this setup, especially for eating purposes. This one does have the king size bed. So it's got a king, and then it's got a little bunk that we pushed up as high as we can. My guess is they're gonna be using this for storage, but if they do have to sleep someone, they have the ability to do so. We've got the 12-volt TV. Everything in here is just running off 12-volt right now. So really the only thing that you would need AC power for would be the air conditioner and the microwave. So reclining sofas. This is your fantastic fan remote. This will pull air in or out. It's got a rain sensor on it to where it'll close down automatically if it rains. All your stereo setup, entertainment package. This does have the rosewood trim, which we do. That's standard also in all of our camps. Reclining sofas. These will lay down pretty well flat to where you could sleep on these if you wanted. They're very comfy, highly recommended. Now on this side, they made a few changes. They wanted this countertop deeper. So it's quite a bit deeper than what we would do normally. But then they utilized some of that back space with an outside compartment door. So overhead storage, big deep single sink. Like I say, the counter space is huge on this one. And then tons of drawers on this side with an opened spot in the middle there. And I'll show you the bathroom. So we have our mirrored medicine cabinet, a little deeper vanity. This is a 16-inch deep vanity, has the single sink, your drawers, and then they wanted to leave the back side open with a shelf there, and then this side opens here. It's got the porcelain toilet, 32-inch shower with the stainless steel glass door on it. Your exhaust fan, frosted bathroom window. And then, as I say, in all these are a solid 1.5 inch door. Very stout. We got the continuous hinge that runs the whole length. So that's a look at this one. I think it turned out really nice. I like the contrast in the colors, the dark cabinets with the light colored walls. I think it turns out really good. So anyways, I hope that you've enjoyed this one. If you have any questions about options, what comes standard, what doesn't, any of those things, feel free to reach out to us. We try to respond to all the comments. We appreciate our customers and those faithful followers of ours. And so, as always, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so. There will be lots more of these camps coming, all very unique. Each individual is so different, and so it's nice to see these camps and how they vary in the options and things that way. So like, subscribe, share, and we'll catch you on the next one.